but we will have those like within, but before the end of April, 1st of May, you will have access to those. We will be doing lots of training around that. And the April webinar, we will do that around the front end of the website to really show you how much easier it's going to be to make those donations. And I think you guys are going to really appreciate, because a lot of the issues that we've kind of been dealing with, that you guys have been so patient with for the last, couple years, are going to, we're seeing those addressed on this new website. So we're super excited about that. Everything that we like about the website is still going to be there. We're still going to have the same features. It's really just on making that functionality, more user friendly for you guys. So more to come on that. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to your liaison and we can, address any questions you have.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, so everyone is clear, even though you're not going to have access to your managed pages on April 1st, your liaisons will have access to the information on the back end. So if you have questions or concerns about wreath count or, reports or anything like that, they can help and get that information to you in the interim. So still continue with your reinstatements, and we're still pushing forward to all of that's going to transfer over to the new site, which we're really excited about. And I also just want to reiterate here, it's really important that this seems to be a detail that everyone forgets once in a while, and that's okay. Your custom URL. So no matter what, through the transfer to the new site or whenever, give people www.readsacrossamerica.org/your ID. So whatever your group ID is, whatever your location ID is, that's what you put at the end there. And that's a direct link to get people to donate to your page. It's the best way to do it. It's the easiest, most simple way to do it. It's the best way to make sure that people don't accidentally give someplace else. If that happens, you know that you have to have the donor themselves call and make that correction. You can't call and say, hey, I know this donor wanted to give to my location, but they gave elsewhere, and we can't do anything to change that unless the donor themselves contacts us. So the best way to do that is using your ID, and those will all still be active and working through this whole transition to the new site. So just keep that in mind. And, as you have questions, reach out to us. Please be patient. Know that we have a great team behind us. We're really excited about the group that we have working with us. And I think everyone's going to be really pleased about it. So with that, that's just kind of an update for that. But the purpose of this month's call is to talk about public relations and really all that comes with public relations. So, and I'm going to get started here. Oop, I'm hitting the wrong button already. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. So when we talk about public relations, we're talking about the media. And so I actually have a media background with advertising agencies, and Sean has a media background in that he worked in radio for a number of years. And when we talk about media in general, there's different types of media. So there's media that everyone consumes and media channels that everyone as a consumer uses. So that's television, that's radio, it's going on websites, it's being on social media, it's getting that from your smartphone or from your iPad. But when you see ads on those devices, typically advertising is paid. So what that means is somebody paid to have a specific ad created that's selling a certain product or an idea or something to you, and that's a form of media. When we talk about public relations and the work that we're doing on our team in communications, it's more on the earned media side. And earned media is really the idea of pitching stories that resonate with your local media and your local community that makes them want to tell a story, right? So there's usually no paid component to it. So it doesn't cost anything. It's a public service. It's an option that really is a low cost, easy way to get your news about your organization and the work that you're doing into the in front of the people that you want them to see it, so that your local community. And that's where Sean and I come in, and a lot of what we do is around earned media. That's what a press release is. A press release includes the who, what, where, when, and oftentimes the why of any story, and that we can help you frame that to then share that with your local news that will ultimately then hopefully help them share that with the local community. And then obviously all of this comes back to that idea of advocacy, media advocacy, which is building relationships with the media. So one of the things that um, in our line of work for Sean and I is it's really important to build relationships with consistent media contacts. So reporters, producers, whether that's national media, whether it's regional media, it's people that we know we can turn to when we have a story and know will be interested and take our call. It's because we've built a relationship there. We've shared good stories with them. They've been a resource for us, kind of situation, so that when come Wreath Day, we need a story to air about something of importance and involving, maybe there's a change of time or something like that. We know who we can contact to get that information out. So advocacy is important, but it's something that's a year-long effort. It's not something that happens, just by randomly picking somebody out of a newspaper and calling them. So I think these are kind of the three kind of pieces that we want to get across today and talk through a little bit. Sean, I don't know if you want to jump in, if there's anything I didn't cover there. You're on mute, Sean. You're on mute, Sean. You're still on mute, Sean.
There we go.
I felt like it was good. I felt like it was good, whatever it was going to be.
Yeah, well, the funny part is I was saying you did a great job. So
good.
there you go.
It was good.
Oh, I just wanted to focus in on that advocacy piece just a little bit because it's a two-way street. We do want to approach the media and say we have this message we need to get across. But that two-way street is we're going to hold a Veterans Day event. We're going to hold a Memorial Day event. Can you connect us with any veterans in your area? And there's that back and forth where you work with the media, they can work with you as a resource. And as you build that relationship and that advocacy, that the message gets stronger, the message becomes more clear. Not to mention the reporters begin to report a little bit more, and they even start to seek you out when they have stories. So
Right.
That's the advocacy part of it. Is it's not just a one-way street, it's a two-way street back and forth, and that's the ideal situation.
Yeah, you can actually become a real value to a reporter if they know that they can come to you for veteran related issues or for if you're connected in your community and they know that they can reach out and get a contact or get information from you, they're that much more likely to contact you when they have an option for a story for you to be part of that. So that's an important piece. So okay. So why should you work with the media? And I know this sounds like it might sound like a silly question because, the answer is like, well, Amber, because we want people to, donate. We want people to come to our event. And yes, but it's also, the mission of Wreaths Across America in particular is so much more than just an event, right? Wreath Day is an event, but the mission to remember, honor, and teach is a year-long one. And it really gives you an opportunity through working with your local media and building relationships to share that mission throughout the year and connect it with other things happening in your community. So, the media's, we want to inform the general public about the work that we're doing through the mission. We want to help persuade them and their audience to become involved with the mission, whether that's volunteering, whether that's sponsoring, whether that's participating at a local fundraiser or going to an event. We want to help the local media understand the Wreaths Across America mission so that when they do share information about it, it's accurate and it's getting the right message across. And then we also want to be a positive influence in the community. And that's really all those things by having earned media and getting a story in your local paper about the work you're doing. There's some credibility that comes with having a local reporter do a story about the work you're doing, as opposed to you going out there and saying, hey, look at all the good work we're doing. There's that third party credibility of having a member of the press help you out and share that this is a worthy thing to be a part of. And that's really where the media can come in and help. Sean, is there anything
Yeah,
Feel-
one of the things that I'll add to that is when you work with the media, another great offshoot from that is when they do produce the media, whether it be video or a blog post or something on a website, they've done you a favor. They've put together a very professional piece of media that you're able to now share. So if you could put that on your Facebook or your Twitter or LinkedIn accounts, you can share it through the social media. You could also put it on your websites. You have the opportunity to email links to supporters and volunteers. And it's a great opportunity to maximize your efforts by working with them, having them help you put together something that's a wonderful package that tells your story, and then share that story with folks that that would be very interested in it.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think that, Sean, if you want to take this, because I think that really speaks to what the role of the media is. They have a responsibility too, especially local media.
Absolutely. The media as an entity, as a business, is a really interesting in our society. They're one of the very few businesses where their first mandate isn't supposed to be making money. They are licensed and they're in an area, and their first thing is all about the community. And first up is protecting the community, making sure that they're safe, making sure that folks don't get on the air and talk about phony charities and getting people to give money when it's really not a necessary thing. So they're going to be a little bit on the watchdog, and they're going to make sure is this organization, is this person telling the truth? And the great thing about working with a national organization like Wreaths Across America, we've built that trust with them. They understand what we're all about, and we're able to get past that first gatekeeper of trying to protect the community simply because we are Wreaths Across America, an organization that has been built by you. So, you know, that's a thank you to you.
Yeah.
The other thing that they do is they serve the community. So when we talk about serving the community, when we send those press releases to these media outlets, when you talk to them and want to interview with them, they want to serve the community. They want to build those relationships. And part of the reason being is because they want to do business in that community. They know that they need to get out and about and meet people and greet people and show that they're part of the community too. It's also how they build relationships with folks that own businesses in the area that they can sell commercials to and so forth. Also, it's so that you get to trust them as they inform the community. So as a media source and as a source of information that local folks would tune into, this is part of their job. So they're protecting, they're serving, and they're informing the community all before they make money. And as a responsible business in an economy, they do have to make money. They have to keep lights on. They have to keep people employed locally. That's just the reality of business. But that's secondary really to serving your needs. And that's in the interesting thing is that relationship is so something that you can actually work on by involving sponsors or supporters, letting folks know from a media outlet that there's going to be folks there that they can talk to. They're going to be very grateful for that. It saves them a lot of time and effort to go out and meet these people separately. So you are offering a service to them as well. So protecting, serving, informing, and then making money.
Yep. The making money part comes through the advertising sales, but typically, publications and media can't sell advertising if they don't have good content. So the content comes from the earned media. So that's where the cycle kind of all works together.
And one thing I'd like to point out before we switch slides.
Oh, sorry.
We really do, here at Wreaths Across America, we've been, we do this ourselves. This picture is a picture from 10 years ago.
I was wondering, is that you?
Not only is that me off to the right-hand side with the sunglasses on and the big smile on my face, And you can see that we're there, you know, working with the Marines and already helping out the military and so forth. But right there, dead center, wearing the other pair of sunglasses from
Oh
our
yeah, that's Jeff Pierce.
that's Jeff Pierce from Reads Across America Radio. So that's a 10-year-old picture where folks, you know, that were not part of this organization that have come on board. This is, you know, we live, breathe, and eat what we're talking about. So if, you know, we ever want to give a call and talk, this is something that we've done for a long time. And there's many folks here that are experts in what they do and are very good at what they do. And please feel comfortable to give us a call and you know, and run anything by us.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even notice that was Jeff Pierce. That's funny. So really what comes down to is how can you, local volunteers, work with the media? And this is where, so Reads Across America as a national organization, our team has worked to put together, you know, we put together some template materials. We're working this year to do a lot more of that and create more resources for all of you to use and customize for your local markets. That being said, you know, keeping your local media informed year round about things that are happening in the local community involving the mission. So if you're hosting a local fundraiser that's open to the public, if you are going out and cleaning headstones with the local sponsorship group. If you're signing on a new corporate sponsor, or you're signing up a new sponsorship group that's another local nonprofit that's giving back in the community, those are all newsworthy things that you can let your media know about. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big press release every time something happens, but as you build that advocacy and those relationships with the media, you can send an email to your local reporter and say, hey, just wanted to let you know, we just signed up Reads Across America, you know, Togus National Cemetery for the 11th year to participate in the National Reads Across America program. So this is going to be the 11th year. We have 10 sponsorship groups signed up that range from the VA local group to Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And that is newsworthy by putting a little hook to it that it's like, this is the 10th year it's happening. This is why it's important to the community. And here's who are involved. That's keeping your local media informed. And, you know, we can't guarantee as an earned media piece that they're going to drop everything and print that in the paper. And you have to understand that that's going to happen sometime. There's a lot of competing groups and organizations out there that are looking for coverage of the efforts that they're doing. So, but keeping them informed as things are coming along throughout the year, as you're participating in things throughout the year, they might be able to do a roundup piece. You know, maybe they don't do a story for a few months, but come July, they're willing to do a bigger piece about all the efforts you've done. So keeping them informed as you go is important. And then looking for relevant opportunities. So in the public relations business, we always call this a news peg. So looking for other things that are happening just naturally in our culture, in the world, in our state, in our community, that we can tie the mission to. So such things could be Veterans Day, it could be May Military Appreciation Month, it could be you know, Giving in July, which Giving in July is kind of like Christmas in July, and that's something that Reads Across America has done, but tying it to that idea of Christmas in July. It could be something as simple as, I'm trying to think of, like March 29th is Vietnam Veterans Remembrance Day. It could be something tied to that, and, you know, welcoming home Vietnam veterans because Reads Across America is a commemorative partner. Things like that, where things that are happening naturally on the calendar that might be getting coverage anyway in the media because they are a relevant news peg, and tying the mission to those things. So by saying, hey, you know, March, you could reach out to the media now, given that it's already the 9th. The fact that I had to look at that, but it's already the 9th, and saying, hey, you know, in 3 weeks, Vietnam Veterans Remembrance Day is coming up, and we have several Vietnam veteran groups who are sponsorship groups of Wreaths Across America, and I can connect you with some of these local veterans to talk about what the mission means to them. And that could be very relevant to a local reporter who is being told, hey, this day is coming up on the calendar. What story are you going to do to get coverage in the local paper? And because reporters are looking for those angles too, they have to produce stories. So if you get in front of somebody in enough time to say, hey, I have someone that you might be wanting to talk to because they're involved in the mission, and you can tie it, it's a nice news peg that might make it all into a great story. And then obviously, if you have other businesses or members of your community who are involved in the organization that are also tied to local media and reaching out to them for other reasons, having them help share the mission doesn't hurt as well. So if you have like a local, I think I saw in some recent local news, a local dealership who made a huge donation to Wreaths Across America down, I think it was Arkansas, as part of the matching campaign. And they use, because they're doing a lot of advertising purchasing, they use their relationship with the media to help really get that story out there, that they did this. And at the same time, the mission was shared, and it shared that all of these wreaths were raised, and this is how many more are needed to get to the goal by December. So it's just a nice way to work those in.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting when I picked this picture. This is a picture of Charlie Sherman with WGIR in Manchester, New Hampshire. And Charlie is a media source all into himself. He's there reading the Union Leader newspaper. He's on the radio. He used to be on WMUR television, which is New Hampshire's real only television station. And through all the positions that he holds in the media that he works with, he really knows everybody. He's just a great guy to know. And when I say great guy to know, yes, I mean good guy, but also in the same token, if you walked up to him and said, hey, Charlie, we're going to be doing this thing with wreaths where we're planning on, for retirement, we're going to use them for a habitat for fish. Well, Charlie would be able to say, you know what? That sounds like a good story. You know who to go to for that? You should go to this guy, you should go to this organization. So to have, to find out who the Charlie is of your area, and there's always a guy like that in your area, they're great resources to help you further your message and get your media out there.
Yeah, it's a great idea. So really, and this kind of goes back to the last conversation here that we were just talking about, but the media being reporters and journalists, what are they looking for? I mean, these folks this is a job for all these folks. You have to keep that in mind. And they are looking to share stories that are relevant to their community. So when you're looking at media, it's first and foremost important to look at what are the outlets that you yourself are watching in your community? So what is the news outlets that you're watching? What are the local newspapers in your community? What are the local radio stations? And what are their demographics? So how far out do they reach? Is there another publication you need to reach out to that's maybe 20 miles away that might be interested? Good to have that list of what those media targets are. And then identifying the different things that you can share with them. They're looking for information about events. They're looking for information about community like programs that they can be a part of. They're looking for contacts to interview. 9 out of 10 times when you reach out to the media, they are going to want an interview. A lot of times folks will just take the press release and post a press release, but usually a good reporter is going to want to speak to at least one, if not two people, to understand what's really happening in the community and who is this impacting. So make sure that before you reach out, you have names and contact information of people who are willing and able to talk about whatever it is that you're sharing. Sean did a pitch this week actually about the recycling of the wreaths, and one of our location coordinators in West Virginia who's recycling these wreaths for fish habitats. And it's a great story. It's a really unique cool, different thing that's custom for people who a very specific type of media. It's agriculture media, it's fishing and wildlife media, it's outdoor media. I mean, it's a whole different, vertical of media that we normally wouldn't reach out to. But he contacted the gentleman that's been doing this and said, hey, we're going to make this pitch. Are you willing and able to talk to the media if we get interest? Because that's important, because if we're going to pitch this, you better have somebody lined up that's going to be able to take the call. And that's an important piece. So you don't want to pitch media or share information about something and then say, oh, sorry, that I don't have anyone to talk to you. So just make sure that you're prepared for that. And that could just be you as your representative, as a local volunteer for Readers Across America, talking about the program, but it also could be a local sponsorship group. It could be a veteran or Gold Star family in your community. It could be a local cemetery director or manager. It depends on what that story is. And it could be all those things, but they're looking for those contacts and how they can get in touch with them. They want to make sure that they're being contacted in a timely manner. I'm going to use the mobile education exhibit that's traveling the country right now as an example. Sean's been doing a lot of work reaching out to local media before it comes to the community that we're going to be there. We like to give at least as much time as possible, at least 3 weeks, I'd say, Sean. And I mean, at least 3 weeks, 4 ideal, but 3 weeks to get people to know that it's coming. And then about a week or two in advance, remind them about the details of this event. If you reach out the day before that event and expect them to drop everything and show up, 9 out of 10 times, they're not going to be able to do that. And they might be a little annoyed, honestly, that you
Actually, if I could jump in there for a little bit, I just to give folks an idea of what the mindset is on that. From a business standpoint, as a media business, it's about resource management. So you have reporters, you've got microphones, you've got cameras, you've got trucks you have to allocate. And unfortunately, at the last minute, whatever stuff that they have hanging around, those are the folks that they're telling, okay, go grab a camera, go grab the keys to the truck. You're going to a fire on the West End. You're going to a car crash over on I-93 or what have you. That's when you see these things on the news and these stuff that happened that day. That's where their resources are going, and they have these resources that are standing there waiting for these events to take place. So when something that's of a good nature, something that's you can put on a calendar that takes a lot of planning, and you approach the media at the last moment, the choice that they're given is really, do I give my resources that I have right here for something that just popped up, or do I do it, or do I use those resources on an emergency that affects people? And the emergency always wins. But the way to offset that is they have other resources, and these are the resources that they allocate for the good stories that are planned in advance. So to get your information to them as soon as possible, a month out, 3 weeks out, somewhere in that window, that helps get you on their calendar and helps their assignment editor assign their resources so that they can build a balanced newscast. And this is really the goal of any newscast, is to be balanced. There's going to be an element of bad stuff. That's the emergency and the last minute resources. But there are also the good stuff that they want to put out there. And this has to be done in advance. But a lot of organizations don't do it in enough time for these media sources to react. So by giving them more time, you increase the likelihood of you getting media.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. And it's funny, especially in Down East Maine, where Readers Across America is headquartered, a lot of the times when we have local media come to our events down east, you see somebody show up, one person, and this has changed a lot in the last decade plus that I've been involved in media.
Yeah.
One person that shows up with either their iPhone or a small camera, and they are doing interviews, they are reporting, they're taking video, and then they're going to go in their car and they're going to put a package together. That's one person who's putting together a whole package, where it used to be, years ago, that you would show up with a crew would show up. The fact of the matter is, media rooms, especially local media rooms across the country, are getting smaller and smaller. They have less and less resources available to them to have multiple people at these shoots, to go out to these events. So oftentimes, especially down east, because it's so remote, Renee, and it takes forever to get there wherever you are, they are probably going to be driving a lot that day from, 30 minutes to an hour in between events that are happening. So as much as you can keep that in mind and just be respectful and understanding of that, these folks are trying to hit all of these different storylines, but they're doing it, one person's doing the job of what used to be 5 or 6 people working together. So that's how things have changed over time. And to be clear, so that we're all understanding this, Sean and I are really talking about local media. There is a difference between local media, what you all are reaching out to your local community media, and national media. There's a difference on how this is handled. And for the most part, HQ certainly manages the national media piece. But if there is a story that you feel is worthy of a national announcement of some kind, please reach out to us and we'll work with you on that. But this is really specific to local media. So just want to reiterate that.
And one of the things too, just to talk about the images just for a little bit. This is from my area in New Hampshire. And people, if you're familiar, with the map of the United States and where New Hampshire is and how small it is in comparison to the rest of the country. To give you an idea, on the Vermont-New Hampshire border, there's this town called Keene, New Hampshire. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny. That's where the film Jumanji was made. So Keene, New Hampshire, to its main city, which is Concord, that's our capital city. You can see from the Google map that's below that radio station coverage map that the driving to Concord via the rural back roads and things like that takes about an hour and a half. So any news person in Keene who needs to cover something at the State House and cover a bill that's being voted on, or cover a some meeting that's happening outside, they're going to be an hour and a half to Concord and an hour and a half back to the station in Keene. Now, as we're talking about that person and their resources, that doesn't necessarily mean they live around the station. They could live in Brattleboro or Manchester, Vermont, working in Keene. So that would be, they drive to work, then they have to drive an hour and a half and an hour and a half back from Concord, and then they're taking their drive home as well. They've probably spent almost 8 hours of the day in their car that day just for one story. And most media people, with today's blogs, websites, social media, and so many other things that are out there in the ether for coverage and news, most of them are under quota for about 5 articles per day. So when we talk about spending this much time, if somebody comes out to your event, that's a big part of their day. And I've actually heard a couple of times where people would say, oh, this guy came by and he only spent 15 minutes here. That 15 minutes is very valuable when you understand how busy their day is and how much they have to produce in that day. 15 minutes is spending a lot. And with that, what we want to do is Reads Across America is really be understanding towards them and what they do. If they show up and their day is that busy, have some food for them. Point them towards the coffee. Make sure that an extra donut or two is put aside for the media, just to show them that we understand what they're going through. Another thing too is to have resources available, people to talk to, people to interview, places where they can video, things where they have pictures ready. You can email them from your phone, to be ready to help them do their job and get them the resources they need is going to go a long way to building a relationship with them.
Yeah, and the point of bringing all this up is just for you to help understand some of the limitations that the local media are dealing with, especially in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
So setting up goals for a media campaign, really the biggest thing here is planning. And, we do this on the national level and, we certainly can help you do on the local level, but looking at a calendar year and looking at the effort and maybe the work that you're going to be doing as locally with your sponsorship groups and with your location, how you're planning the year and where you might be able to inform media throughout the year of different events in a timely manner. So as difficult as it might sound, because it is a big task. I will admit it's a big task for us to try and look at a calendar every year. And, it doesn't have to be set in stone. It can evolve and it can, change as you go. But having a general idea, even if it's just to start, maybe once a quarter. So, you have National Reads Across America Day in December, and you're going to really start ramping up on your fundraising, maybe in October. What are some things that could be done earlier in the year that you can help share with the media? So, and whether that's fundraising, whether that's, community programs that you're going to be doing with other groups, and then look at what's happening throughout the year in your community and on the national, on the calendar in general, to see how you might be able to coincide those things. So kind of taking a step back and saying, okay, well, if I know that the month of July, Reads Across America, the national office, has a Giving in July program with some resources, maybe I could do something in July because there is a big event in our community for the 4th of July. Maybe there's an opportunity there to connect those things. The real purpose of planning this and looking at the full year as opposed to just, Q4 and season is that if you wait until the end of the year to start telling your story about Reads Across America and the work that you're doing, you can't expect the media to just want to be involved. It's, they might still get involved because it's a holiday type story, but they probably won't do the level of reporting and the level of support that you might be looking for in order to help you reach your goals. So if you think about them as a year-long partner, as opposed to just a Q4 or a November, December partner, you really are going to have some added benefit and be able to share your story and share the story of the mission in your community and the work that you're doing throughout the year. So if you can take a calendar and take some time, I really recommend it. It's a practice that takes work. Part of the things that we're doing as an organization is we're trying to provide more regular type effort that you can use throughout the year. That's why we're hosting these virtual races. Those are fundraising programs you can do throughout the year that you can tell, your community about now. If you have the mobile education exhibit come to your community, which I know a lot of people are asking about that in the chat. If you go to readsacrossamerica.org/MEE, you can submit a request there and they'll take a look at it and they'll certainly see if they can make it work for you. But there's lots of things that we have going on in the community year round, and we are producing a lot of content to help you be successful in your community. So it's a long game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. If you want to get the local media involved in what you're doing before December, excuse me. Because I know over the years, I've been working with Reads Across America in public relations since 2008. And I have heard everything that could possibly be said to volunteers. I've heard, believe me. I've heard a lot of frustration over the years that, you've reached out to your local media, you've told them every year and they never come. And the fact of the matter is that maybe they couldn't come because there's a host of reasons why maybe they couldn't come to National Reads Across America Day. Ultimately, if they're coming to National Reads Across America Day, though, that's not helping you to reach your goal, maybe to raise funds throughout the year, because at that point, Reads Across America Day is already there. And it's a great story to share. And we see tons of great articles all year about what's happening on Reads Across America Day, but it's the lead up and it's the mission year round that makes the event exciting. So trying to keep that in mind and to try and keep building on those relationships with local media and building out those different stories that you can share throughout the year is really critical. And I want to, before we get too late here, because I want to let people have questions. So that's where we talk about resources that are available to you. So Sean is a full-time employee. I don't know if you knew this, but he's in New Hampshire. He's on the East Coast. So Sean is on the East Coast. I'm on the East Coast, but we are reachable. We have pr@readsacrossamerica.org is an email that goes to both of us. We're both active in the Facebook groups, and we're both here to help talk through some of the challenges you might be having, some of the stories that you might be wanting to share, but maybe don't know how. We have a new media relations toolkit, which we're excited about. That's Sean's number. We'll send it in an email after this, guys. We have a new media relations toolkit that's going to be made available on the new website as part of the resources piece. We'll actually send that out along with the slides for tonight. We have template press releases and event materials that can be customized for pretty much any event that you might be doing, from generic to specific, things that are things that we've been talking about tonight. We have public service announcements that we have an amazing radio team. I don't know if you all heard Reads Across America Radio. We have a fantastic team. We have really upped our content, and our programming is just fantastic. It's a voice for America's veterans. And they are also producing PSAs for free for any of the groups that want one. So if you're interested, if you're involved in a local nonprofit and you want a PSA to share with your local news, or if you want your PSA shared on Reads Across America Radio, reach out to the radio team and we can help you do that. We also have TV PSAs that we have produced that are generic that you can share with your local media, and they can add a tag at the end for your specific URL. The social media team here is producing so much content, and it's more than graphics, guys. It's learning tools. I mean, throughout this pandemic, one of the things that I think that we've done really well is continue to educate and share stories. And we have some really great content on our Reads Across America YouTube page. We have a YouTube channel. We had a series all of last year with American Gold Star families talking about character and the character of their loved ones. And it's just incredible. Karen Worcester, our executive director, did the interviews. If you haven't seen them or heard them, I highly encourage them. They're great content to share. We have lives that you can share. Our Tuesday flag waving always gets about 4,000 to 5,000 views for the Tuesday flag waving. I think when it's colder, people seem to view more because they feel bad for everybody. But we have this great content that's available. You can use whatever you'd like. Our team is here. Sam on our team is happy to help customize material for you for your social media. So, the staff is here. We're always looking for new ways to produce material that can help you. But really picking up the phone sometimes and just talking through it is all that it takes. And we're happy to help. I look at a lot of material. People will draft press releases and send them to me, and I'm always really impressed. I mean, we know that this is not your job, guys. Like, we know that you're volunteers, but this is our job. So come to us and we'll help you. We want you to be successful. You're the local boots on the ground. Your local media wants to hear from you. They don't want to hear from us. But, and we're here to help you do that. So with that being said, that's kind of I know we covered a lot, and I apologize for going so long, but I don't know if there's any questions. I was trying to look at the chat when you were talking, Sean. I'm not seeing anything, but I don't know, Julie, if anyone has any questions about anything we've talked about. I know it's a lot of information. Michael raised his hand, but I can't see Michael. Julie, can you help me? I can't see Michael.
Michael, if you want to just go ahead and unmute, you can ask a question.
There we go. I'm going to change this view here. No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Mike, and I can't see you, so I don't know. Marcia, do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead, Marcia. Unmute yourself.
What do you do when we have a very small cemetery? We only have 167, and we've already surpassed our wreaths count. So we had people show up that we didn't have a wreath for them to lay because we're such a small area. Mm-hmm. And the National Cemetery in Canton, Georgia, turned them away. And so they just showed up at our event. And then some were kind of a little not as pleasant as we would have hoped, because they brought their kids out there and they thought that every child should be allowed to lay a wreath. Well, we already had these wreaths spoken for with family members and descendants of people that were buried there. And
So Marcia, can I ask you, was this specific to this past year with COVID? Is that because there was?
it did have something to do with COVID. The National Cemetery did there's wreaths event in stages.
Yep.
And they were only allowing, I think it was 30 people a day at the National Cemetery to lay wreaths. But our little cemetery, we had our it was the first year that we had a ceremony, and it was a pretty big event, but we planned for 120 people, and we had probably 400 show up.
Well, first and foremost, let me just say congratulations on covering your cemetery. There's a lot of people who are sitting on this call who are like, man, I wish I had that problem. So that's wonderful, Marcia. Congratulations. Honestly, and that's
2 cemeteries, actually.
oh, good. That's awesome. I mean, that would be my first thing, is to think maybe there's a way to expand to another local cemetery if you have the opportunity and the resources to do that, and the engagement from your community. You might be able to do a story about the fact with your local media that because of the great success of last year, you're expanding to another location, and you're going to help. You know, you need the community's involvement to help with that location as well. In that situation, though, in hindsight, I'm sure you handle it great. I mean, honestly, all you can do if the wreaths are all placed is encourage those families to walk around the cemetery and say those names, and to read those names out loud, and take that time to see that really beautiful sight of a full cemetery, and to learn the names of those people that are buried there. That's really the best thing I could say in that situation. But I really think you have a great opportunity to expand. So congratulations on that. And I would think that given the involvement of your community, it sounds like you probably had a lot of great coverage and getting people involved, and you can build on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Marcia. I can't see anybody else.
This is Berla from
Hi,
From-
Verla.
Quartzsite, Arizona. We had the opposite problem. We took the figures we got from the cemetery people and ordered that many wreaths, and come to find out we were about 15 short. So we're going to have to increase ours. We have a small cemetery too. We had 137 wreaths last year. We're going to have to go to 145 or 150 this year. So if
But I bet
it works out,
it sounds like you'll probably still get the involvement you need, and you should let your community know that there's more people buried there than you might have thought, and there's more of a need.
right. That's what I'll do.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Is that Friday?
My name's Heather. I'm from Southern Arizona.
I don't see you, Heather, but I can hear you. So keep going.
Okay. So we're part of a national cemetery, but we have a lot of groups in our area that compete. And I guess my question is, the whole webinar was on media and getting people out there. But is it difficult if you have like other groups like the Gold Star Mothers or your local American Legion also doing the wreaths? Is that taking from them if my DAR chapter does it?
No, not at all. I mean, if anything, it's an opportunity to talk about how many different groups can be involved. A lot of cemeteries have multiple groups involved, and you got to keep them. I mean, this isn't a competition. I mean, anyone that's involved, the ultimate goal for everyone is to raise enough funds to place enough wreaths to honor and remember every veteran in that cemetery. So if you can say, as a local DAR that our group is working to support this cemetery as well as other local groups, but tell them what you're doing, and that might incite them to maybe reach out to other groups to hear what they're doing as well. So you shouldn't feel bad about that. Obviously, if you are in communication with your location coordinator, which you should be as a group, letting them know that, hey, I might have an interview opportunity to share what DAR is doing, that's a great thing. You should never feel bad about that. The ultimate goal for all groups is to work together. And yes, everyone has their own goal and in mind that they're trying to reach, but the ultimate goal of Reads Across America is to remember everybody and to say those names and to fulfill the mission. So you should never think of it as a competition. Friday, go ahead, Friday.
First off, I just want to tell everybody, thank you, Tiffany. I know you're here. She's the most wonderful, wonderful person that I could ever coordinate with. Second.
Hi, Friday. Thank you.
Hello, Tiffany. We'll talk to her. She talks to me all the time. She said, anyway, the next thing is on the web where it says the suggested dollar amount for the number of reads.
Yeah.
I know that every area in the United States has a different economic profile. Okay, ours fortunately is a little bit higher than $75. So what you're doing to us is people that would normally maybe give $100 and $150, they're giving $75. Is there some way maybe you might all want to talk among yourselves and take that suggested dollar off the web?
We'll come back and talk about that Friday with our group. I mean, the thing is that actually in a lot of ways it actually helps people to give more usually. Our data,
and yet where I'm living, in other words, just let me give an example. The police in our town are doing a cancer thing for a policeman, you know, a young guy that unfortunately has, and my husband came home and he goes, Freddie, send a $200 check. So in other words, I recognize and I'm sensitive that there are different value areas or economic situations in all of the areas without our United States. But by doing that $75 in my particular town, it's hurting us.
Okay. Well, that's Julie, we can talk about that offline and see if there's an opportunity to make it.
And that's fine with me. I don't want to make that a thing here.
Yeah. But thanks for that, Friday.
Okay.
George, go ahead. Sorry about that, George.
That's right, no problem. That's no problem. So we have a lot of support from what I consider my local media. So we have an access television station here in town.
Yep.
We have a reporter that has been instrumental since we started back in 2016. But my struggle is getting the local TV stations like ABC, CBS, NBC.
Yep.
What is the suggestion that you would have to reach out to them? Is there like, do each one of those stations have like a community representative, salesperson that I would be able to contact?
I wouldn't do salesperson because that you're not looking to sell any like an advertisement or something like that. John, you look like you want to answer. Go ahead.
I do. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to talk to the salespeople. What you want to do is the side of the business that is looking for this type of information is called programming. Usually an operations or a program director is the lead person to speak to. In news organizations, there's also an assignment editor. They're the people that usually are the gatekeepers on news and are making sure that they're doling out stories for people to do and so forth. But the interesting thing about today's media, folks really want to just send a press release off to their local station's news tip line or press release line, and you know that's a day right there is that you just sent it out. But there are so many others to send that out to. There's a public service person, and yes, every station, especially radio stations and TV stations, have a public service person in that role specifically to take these pieces of media in. Also, because of the situation that we talked about the news people producing blogs and websites and social media, each individual reporter is their own media source in this day and age. So if you ever wanted to just go to their website, and I'll be honest with everybody, No station makes it easy to find email addresses,
Right.
but I can guarantee they are on there. They're just hard to find.
Yeah.
And
Well,
when you
we
do,
can help you with that too, though, George.
We
If you
can.
can't find somebody,
Absolutely.
call Sean. We have a database and a capability of looking up
Okay.
reporters'
Right,
contact
'cause
info.
the last
Yep.
couple of years, we've tried to get a couple of local, the ABC, CBS's out to our ceremonies, and trying to find that right person to get in contact with has been difficult.
Yeah, I think for an event like that, assignment editors are a good place, but also paying attention, if you watch the station too, George, pay attention to who might be doing stories about veteran related news or
Okay.
good
military related
suggestion,
news.
yes.
So if you're seeing somebody in the local, like we have a local guy here actually, which is gonna bum me out, because I mean, I'm excited for him. He just got the 11 p.m. anchor role, but he's always been this guy who comes to all these veteran related events. And
Yeah.
I knew that he would come to our stuff because it's his shtick. It's like what he
Right,
likes to
right.
do. So paying attention to that helps a little bit too.
Good.
But yeah,
Very
assignment editors are really, they're the group that are gonna, from a TV standpoint, are going to put something on the calendar and say, hey, we need to get a crew out there for this event. If you know you're gonna have dignitaries or local officials there, I'd be surprised local media wouldn't come if you're gonna have someone of, unless there's
Right.
something else happening in that community at the same time. But yeah, we can come time for it, George, we can help you with that, and we can look at the materials to make sure that you're putting it the right way, positioning it the
great.
right way.
Thank you.
Okay. And I know we're past, well, we're like 9 o'clock, but I don't know if there's any more questions. We can take a couple, one or two more if there's anything. That being said, we will be sending these slides out with the recording, and Julie, I can get you the new media relations toolkit that Sean put together, that has a great calendar of different topics for throughout the year with different news pegs that might be relevant to you and the work that you're doing, as well as it has all of our contact information and other great ideas and just things to keep in mind when you're reaching out to the media. So we'll make sure that that's included in that.
Hello, Amber. Rick in Las Vegas.
Oh, Rick, hi, sorry.
Yes, thank you. We've got a little over 30,000 grave sites out here in Southern Nevada, and we've grown every year with Breeze Across America. So we're going to continue to try and get the entire Knights of Columbus, which I'm a member of in the Las Vegas diocese, to really participate, get websites going and everything else, and grow from the 6,500 that we did last year. And we did it under COVID restrictions where we could only have 50 people every 30 minutes go in and lay, starting off grave specific wreaths and then moving on to the general wreath that we covered. But we're continuing to grow here in Las Vegas.
That's wonderful. Great to hear, Rick. And, and I'm very well aware, and I know Megan's been she's out there in the Las Vegas area too. We've actually seen that region of the country grow tremendously in the last couple of years. So thank you for the good work. Okay. I'm not seeing anybody else, but I don't see everybody. So I don't know, Julie, and if you see anybody else that's raising their hand that I'm just not seeing for whatever reason. But with that, with that, I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you for letting us go a few minutes over. Thank you, Sean. Great information, and hope everyone has a great month. And feel free to reach out to us. We look forward to working with everybody.
Thank you, Amber.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Bye
bye.